después. La soledad les da un abrazo, aunque no aceptan su fracaso, esperando devolver un amor que ya se fue. Y así pasan los días, pretendiendo que todo está bien, con silencios y café, esperando que regrese el ayer. El ayer. The Mexican comes out there.
The Mexican is always coming out. It can't
El
help it.
ayer. Wonderful.
What do you think that's going to happen with music in general? Like,
Well, it just, I mean, whenever music gets stuck, like it did in the 70s, pop music got kind of stuck, it always looks to some kind of an ethnic current, you know, and it always goes backwards for a while, too. It has to backpedal, you know, because you always have to go back to get the context of what went before. But it just seems to me like in Los Angeles, which is indicative of kind of what the cultural swing of the country is going to be, there's so much more Spanish being spoken. It's almost, English is going to be a minority language soon, in another 20 years, I think, if it's not already. And there's so many interesting rhythms. You know, the cultural potential for the combination of these of this new little melting pot that's happening is so exciting just from the rhythm section that it's got to be Latin music. I'm just convinced of it, you know? Or Latin music having a heavy, you know, influence in it.
the only thing I'd like to interject here is that as a member, a resident of New York City, I believe that the cultural swings of the nation are registered in New York.
Oh, yeah?
The farther you get from the ghetto, will the music be drained of its energy, of its fundamental basic energy?
I don't think so, as long as you're not using music for its economic purpose. If you're thinking of music in terms of just making a living for yourself, you're gonna be ready to make any change and any departure and sever your ties with all the background, just like young professionals do, unfortunately, today in many countries in Latin America. Utilize the profession to exclusively to get a better standard of living
For themselves.
For themselves, and then they don't go back. They never go back. As long as the musicians keep themselves thinking of music as the most important form of communication today, in my opinion, we're gonna be fine.
Take my shadow through the streets again. I can't think much, but I feel the pain. Seems like old times, it is sad, but true. All I ever do is think of you.
What I'd like to be able to do at some point, just in terms of communication, is to be able to have the same facility that I have to express, to understate, that I have in Spanish, to have that same kind of ability, you know, and not sound like I have nightmares, sounding like hokey, you know, or what you call it, cliches, you know. You love, I left you, you know. But I guess in time, at any rate, it'll always be, my major concern will always be to write in Spanish, because that's what I do best, I think, and that's where I need it the most, I think, and what gives me the most satisfaction.
Since it is a communication, and one of the problems that Garcia Marquez and others have talked about is the big problem of illiteracy in all of Latin America. This is one of the ways to communicate complicated ideas to people who can't read and write, isn't it?
Arciniega said that in towns, in people that begin, the story is sung and not written, you know. And in the sense, we are documenting our history, through music.
And inventing it.
And inventing it also, and presenting possible, possible ways into which trying, without believing that just by singing we're gonna change the world. Right. At least, not only you're bringing the possibility of a communication, a way of communication to people that sometimes don't have that opportunity of expressing themselves, but at the same time we're ending a little bit, or at least attempting and beginning to really end the polarization that exists in Latin America, this time through music, as a communicator.
In the lyrics, do you feel yourself in the tradition then of poets like Neruda and Ruben Dario and so on?
In a very modest level, yes, because we are expressing ideas, we are expressing a spirit that is popular, again, popular in the sense that it's our background, it's where we're coming from, it's the way we look at things and the way we try to make a difference. I don't know if Neruda did it for the same reasons. I feel like we're trying to at the same time, I really think that we're trying to make people feel less lonely. And I think we're trying to make people aware that they're not alone. That this is something that is shared and understood, and the same people that have a problem are not alone. Other people also have the problem, are aware of it, are addressing it, and the solution will come to all of us.
A sense of community created by the...
And the spirit, it's the same spirit that moves any artist. Neruda, Dario, just to quote those two. And myself, a guy like Gregory Hines, who's a dancer, or just everybody that is an artist, I think, has that spirit, that need to communicate.
One thing keeps coming back and back and back to me, and it's how young this country is again, and how many things are to be done. Very hesitant about just coming out right and saying, well, I'd like to be this, I'd like to be that, but the fact remains, eventually I'm going to return here. And I say eventually because I can't pinpoint a specific date. But if by the time I come back, I find that there is a degree of political maturity in the country, and I can really get the feeling and the sense that people in fact do want to have certain things changed, and they believe that I can be of any help. If that would mean for me to get involved as a candidate for the highest office of this country, I would certainly be something that I consider. And the more I look around and the more I talk with people, the more it seems that is not such a far-fetched idea. I must say, and I guess I'm speaking for all motherhood, that there is hope for sons in this world. Originally, I'm sure my mother thought I was going to be a full-fledged hoodlum.
No.
And she'll say no now,
No, I know that. No, I know.
That's not what I used to hear when I was a child, and I was tied to my chair. Okay. Pedro Navaja was inspired by the idea of Macheath in the Brecht Weill three-penny opera. Now, I love the melody. It's a haunting melody. It's a haunting melody, and the whole idea of this character, So what I did was, I heard that song when I was when I was like 8 or 9 years of age. Bobby Darin recorded Mac the Knife. And I remember in parties, I used to sing it, mimicking when they give me a quarter or something. And although I was terribly, terribly shy, terribly shy, I would still do it, so I like the song. And at any rate, I always grew up with that on my mind. And then in Panama, when I was a kid, there were two gangs that became very notorious, One were called the Black Sneakers, because of course they wore orange sneakers, black sneakers, right? And the other one was called the Gold Tooth, because they all had a gold tooth, of course. And at any rate, I took those two elements, I kept them. Then when I came here to New York in '74, and I look at the guys, bebopping all around, 42nd and 46th, and, and their huge, pinmobiles, pop. And they kind of brought memories, I started connecting it with, the experience in Panama and the Brecht character. And then I created this song called Pedro Navaja, which means razor's peaked. And the whole thing was the encounter between him and a woman in the street, and how no matter what you do, no matter how much ahead you think you are, you never have control. You never really have control over what you think you know or what you think you have. And sometimes, most of the time, somebody else ends up reaping the benefits from whatever it is that you do,
This tune, do you know Mac the Knife? Oh, the sharp bites with such teeth did, and he shows them pearly white, just a jackknife as old Mac he did, and he keeps it out of sight. Bueno, that's not the tune you're gonna hear. Por la esquina del viejo barrio lo vi pasar, con el tumbao que tienen los guapos al caminar. George Mooney, las manos siempre en los bolsillos de su gabán, pa' que no sepan en cuál de ellas lleva el puñal. Usa un sombrero de ala ancha de medio lado y zapatillas por si hay problemas, salir volado. Lentes oscuros pa' que no sepan que está mirando, y un diente de oro que cuando ríe se ve brillando. Golden Tooth, como a 3 cuadras de aquella esquina, una mujer Brenda King va recorriendo la acera entera por 5ª vez, y en un zaguán entra y se da un trago para olvidar que el día está flojo y no hay clientes para trabajar. Un carro pasa bien despacito por la avenida, no tiene marcas pero todos saben que es policía. Pedro Navaja, las manos siempre dentro del gabán, mira y sonríe y el diente de oro vuelve a brillar. Mientras camina pasa la vista de esquina a esquina, no se ve un alma, está desierta toda la avenida. Cuando de pronto esa mujer sale del zaguán y Pedro Navaja aprieta un puño dentro del gabán, mira pa' un lado, mira pa' el otro y no ve a nadie. Ya la carrera pero sin ruido cruza la calle, y mientras tanto en la otra acera va la mujer, refunfuñando pues no hizo pesos con qué comer. Mientras camina del viejo abrigo saca un revólver esa mujer y va a guardarlo en su cartera pa' que no estorbe. Un 38 Smith & Wesson del especial que carga encima pa' que la libre de todo mal. Y Pedro Navaja, puñal en mano, le fue pa' encima. El diente de oro iba alumbrando toda la avenida, mientras reía el puñal un día sin compasión, cuando de pronto sonó un disparo como un cañón Óigame gente que aunque hubo ruido nadie salió. Tuvo curiosos, tuvo preguntas, nadie lloró. Solo un borracho con los dos cuerpos se tropezó. Cogió el revólver, el puñal, los pesos y se marchó. Y tropezando se fue cantando desafinado el coro que aquí les traje y da el mensaje de mi canción. Richie, la vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida. Ay Dios. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida. Pedro Navaja, matón de esquina, quien a hierro mata, a hierro termina. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida. Ay. ¿Qué te da y qué te da en la acera? ¿Qué te da y qué te da si es severa? La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida. Ay. La vida es una tómbola al garín, nadie sabe qué empieza y cuándo viene el fin. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas. ¿Qué te da? ¿Qué te da? ¿Qué te da? ¿Qué te da? ¿Qué te da y te quita? Ay, cámara. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida. Ay. No hay enemigo chiquito, mi pana, a nivel de callejón. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas. En Panamá y en Puerto Rico, en Tepito, mi hermano en Hong Kong, cualquiera te da un trompón. I like to live in America. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da. Oye, que el barrio de Guapa, cuidado en la acera, cuidado que verás que el tiempo corre vuela. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida. Ay. 8 millones de historias tiene la ciudad de Nueva York. La vida te da sorpresas, New York, por York. ¿Qué te da y qué te da? ¿Qué te da y qué te da si es severa? La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida. Como me decía mi abuelita, que el que de último ríe se ríe mejor. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida. Pa' que aprenda que barrio de Guapo, compadre, cualquiera te da un trompo. La vida te da sorpresas, sorpresas te da la vida.
Well, twilights always remind me of two things. One is end and beginning. They mean two things to me, end and beginning. End of the day, beginning of a new day the next day. And it's like cycles, just like life and death, you know.